Greetings. We are here for another season. This is Charles Patton, the PC, the People's Counselor, sitting in for your favorite epidemiologist, Sister Yah, who will be here momentarily. Once again, this is our first show of the year, and we want to continue our discussion on health equities because we think that it is a vital part to our wellness as a nation, as a race, as a community. We need to continue to have this discussion until we can get the things that we need in place that will make us look a lot better when it comes to our health and our longevity and life expectancy. All right? This is January the 15th, and happy Martin Luther King Day, or happy birthday to Martin Luther King. They're going to celebrate it on the 20th, but we just want to acknowledge Dr. Martin Luther King for all of the contributions he's made in trying to help us to get to where we need to be in this country. Now, with that being said, this is Tacts, the Associations of Clinical Trials, and basically what that means... Basically what that is that we are an agency that promotes the knowledge of clinical trials and the significance of clinical trials as a means of being healthy or getting to what we like to say is optimal health. This organization has been around for the last 15 years, and me and Sister Yah have been diligently trying to educate and inform our community around these significant events about healthcare. Because I know that you all remember some of the conversations we had around health equity as far as the food deserts and, of course, violence as a disease, the scourge that we are experiencing now with the opiate epidemic. And, of course, we know that it's an epidemic for some people, but it's been that way for most of us for a long time. But now we're starting to get some traction with making some of these corrections, if you will, or providing people with information so that they can make more informed decisions. And then, of course, we know that we got to talk about housing or the lack thereof. We got a lot of people who are not meeting or not having access to their basic needs. Okay, so as an agency, our objective is to make sure that we provide people with the correct information. So the Association of Clinical Trial Services, that is our motto, and our tagline is bringing the science to the people. Now, don't misunderstand me. We are not promoting clinical trials by no stretch of the imagination. But we are promoting awareness of clinical trials because they tell me in order to be aware is to be alive. In order for us to get the best from the systems that are supposed to provide for us, then we need to know all the details because they tell me the devil hides in the details. So we need to start talking about how we can make sure that everybody get access to correct information because misinformation is just as deadly or deadlier than no information. And we know that being in this country that is now more of a cooperation than a country, that propaganda has permeated our system. So that's our objective, is to make sure that you get correct information in regards to what's out there, what's available, and what will work best for you. Okay, with that being said, we're going to look at the next slide. Hold on, excuse me. Now, here we go. All right. Okay, we seem to be having a few technical difficulties with the slides. So now we want to talk about with diversity comes a cure. All right. If you look at this paradigm, this is our tagline. With diversity comes a cure, increasing diversity in clinical trials. And of course, we got our sponsors, Third Coast, CSR, Men and Women in Prison Ministries, the AIDS Foundation of Chicago, the Black National Consortium, Flow Photography and Enterprises. These are the people that support us, and we just want to acknowledge them. And by the way, this is a call-in live show. You can reach us at 312-738-1660. So that's 312-738-1060. So please call in and join the discussion. Okay, so with Tacts and diversity, we know that the clinical trials component is a vital piece. Now just think about this. How many of you all take Tylenol? You know, when you get a body ache or a headache or something like that. Now we know that most of these medications have side effects. Most of us don't know what they are until we either read the pamphlets or we try them, and then we start experiencing some negative consequences. Most of the Tylenol, at least all of what I understand, the Tylenol trials were not demonstrated on people of color. We were not part of that, so we are taking medications that hasn't been tried on us, and for all intents and purposes, we don't know how they're going to react in our bodies, because we know that certain races of people metabolize things a little differently. You know, so we need to be clear that when we are taking certain medication, and if you are one of those individuals like myself that's dealing with hypertension or diabetes or sickle cell, you know, hepatitis, right? There are medications out here that they are promoting or using, and we don't know how they act on our bodies, you know, and unfortunately, our life expectancy is a lot less than some other cultures or races in this city or in this nation. So it's imperative that you continue to do your studies, or as you say, do your due diligence, and get the correct information. That's what Tacts is about, right? We know that we are going through a time now where healthcare is a major issue for a lot of us. Either we can't afford it, or the healthcare we getting very minimal. So we need to make sure that the things that we do get and the things that they are using on us will work for us. Okay? And that being said, let's talk about what health equity really is, right? Now, what is health equity? If you look at this particular diagram, you see some people on bicycles, correct? Now, if you look at if you had a chance to see that diagram, you see we got a young lady in a wheelchair who the bicycle is basically useless for, right? That's called equality. You got a guy on a bicycle the bike is too small for him. You got the lady in the middle, her bike is appropriate, and so she seems to be getting the optimal service. And then you got the little boy in the front, and the bike is too big, so it's a lot harder for him. Now, if you look at the next level, if you remember what the paradigm showed, health equity is you got the young boy who has a bicycle that's appropriate for his size. Then you have the lady, once again, she's on the appropriate size bike. Then we have a larger bike for the taller gentleman. And then the young lady in the wheelchair can also participate now because she has a bike that will accommodate her condition. That is equity, getting what you need. So if you have any, as I like to say, solutions or any opinions or objectives about this, or how we can continue to reach this particular paradigm, because for those that tuned in last year, we know that we've had this discussion pretty much on every show. We threw in a couple other topics, but I think this is relevant today when we start looking forward for this new year and this new decade, you know, and making sure that we get the things we need as a race of people. Okay? Now, let's talk about the case of health literacy. Now, health literacy moving from equality to liberation. So I have another diagram that I want to show you. All right? Now, this particular diagram talks about health literacy moving from equality to liberation. All right. Now, what does that particular depiction mean? If you look at the equality box, you got one, everybody got the same box. That's equality. Just give me what you got and we'll try to make it work for us. But if you notice, the smaller child, he can't see anything. The other one has to kind of hold on to the fence, and then you got the larger individual who's able to see and get a better, clear view. All right? When you look at equality, or that's the fallacy in this system. But now if you look at equity, the taller individual doesn't need a box, so he don't get one. The smaller individual gets one box, so that gives him a better option of getting what he needs to see the field. And then the baby gets two boxes because that's what he needs to get to the optimal position and see what's going on. That is equity. All right, so I want to drive this point home so that everybody will understand and not just take what's being offered as a means of health care, because I can tell you from a personal experience that don't work. You know, I myself, and I had a great, I think a great relationship with my physician, and they was doing what they knew, you know, but subsequently, it caused me some problems because I didn't do my due diligence at the time, and I accepted the recommendations and I took the medication, and subsequently it didn't work for me. And I had to make some hard decisions once I got from up under that particular situation that I was going to be more invested in getting the optimal health care. So from this point on, whenever I'm offered a medication or an option to deal with an illness, I am going to do my research before I ingest anything. Okay? And I encourage you to do the same. Now let's talk about liberation. When you look at the diagram of liberation, and let me just show it to you one more time. All right? When you look at liberation, you see that there's no barriers. And at this point, everybody got what they need. They can work from their particular perspective, their particular height level, and everybody has access to what's going on and they can see things clearly. That's liberation. Where we're not depending on somebody else to determine what we need. We can get it without the barriers being in place. And we are the authority on what's going on with us and what we need. All right, so we are the ones that make those decisions, even though we have healthcare professionals that then had certain training and they know certain things. I'm not discounting that. I have a great relationship with my physician now. But we also, the one thing that made me select this physician, I need to share this real quick, is that when I went to her after I got rid of my first PCP, and I went to this young lady and I said, look, this is what's going on, this is what happened to me as a result of it. Her comment to me was, it's your team. We just want to be a part of it. So you want to find a physician that doesn't have what we quote unquote say that God complex, that know everything, but is willing to work with you as a patient, as an individual, so that we can get to a place where we are working on my best interest. And it ain't just about pushing pills or getting labs done. It's about working in a capacity as a team to make sure that you get optimal health. Plain and simple. All right, so with that being said, let's talk about our, and you know, I really like this subject because it's dealing with foods. And a lot of the medical people have been talking about food as medicine. And that way we can get away from some of the pills that's being pushed in this medical society. So let's talk about what substitute foods. What foods are you eating? And do you eat for taste, nutrition, or both? Now are you eating for taste, nutrition, or both? Now, coming by way of Alabama, you know, we generally eat for taste. I tell you, soul food has truly helped my family over the years. All right, but when I think about generations past, their lifestyles were a lot different. They were eating foods that accommodated the level of energy that they were expending. I personally have never worked in a field. I personally never walked to and from work unless I chose to do so. So there are some things that they were doing, that their diet that we were accustomed to, it was more beneficial for them in the sense that they was utilizing that energy, they was burning off those calories. Nowadays, as much as I like some ham hocks and greens and some, pork chops and, as we say, fat back and all the other things like that, we know that our lifestyles today are a little more sedentary. And of course, we are not eating those kind of foods that is bringing us optimal health. Okay? So once again, when you think about the foods that we're eating, it's paramount that we get into this discussion. Okay. So now we have our community epidemiologist that will be completing this segment for you. And by all means, please call in 312. Okay. Thank you.
Mr. Patton, very good. And I see you all are working on this segment today. But what I want to know is, hey, Happy New Year. I see you working on that segment. That wasn't the right segment, so we'll figure this out later because that's not the one I sent in earlier, but it's okay because what I really want to talk about is what's what today is. So we're not going to even be able to use the slides because the slides were set for today. I wish we could have if there's some way to get the slides that I sent in today put up, that would be nice, because the picture that's on it is, guess what? Martin Luther King Day. Today is his Earth Day, and I had that picture ready for you all because it is January 15, 2020, honey. It is the day that the Lord has made. I will rejoice and be glad in it. I'm glad to be back here, you all. This CAN TV escapade, if you will. We are on this journey, this ride here with Tacts, the Association of Clinical Trial Services. You already have heard from our Vice President of Tacts, Mr. Charles Patton, the People's Counselor, and we really wanted to hone in today on our ideas of what we've done in the past and what we're going to do, more importantly, our perspectives for our solutions. And we were going to focus on that, but unfortunately, I see that the slides that were put in aren't the right ones, so I'm not sure if that's going to be able to be worked on, but it would have had Martin Luther King there, and more importantly, it would have had that he would have been 91 years old, and that would have been today. So let's say happy birthday to you. More importantly, I don't want to sing that because I can't sing it like Stevie Wonder, but what I would like to have done was tell you something about his legacy, and more importantly, my friend, I'm going to give him a shout out, Mr. Paul Pierce. He definitely sent me this about, Sankofa. That means the idea of making sure that we go back and reach to get what's ours. And he said for Martin Luther King, he gave his speech, and Martin Luther King said, I come here tonight and plead with you. Believe in yourself and believe that you are something, that you are somebody. And as I've said to a group last night, nobody else can do for you for us. No document can do this for us. No Lincoln Emancipation Proclamation can do this for us. No, he's talking about Kennedyism or Johnsonism. Civil Rights Bill can do this for us. If the Negro is to be free, he must draw down into what the resolutions of his own soul and sign with a pen the right with an ink, the right, let me get it right, and sign with the pen and ink of self-assertiveness, manhood's own emancipation proclamation. And I would throw in womanhood to that. Don't let anybody take your manhood. Be proud of your heritage, our heritage. As somebody said earlier tonight, we don't have anything to be ashamed of. Secondly, told somebody, more importantly, this is the line I love. Somebody's trying to text me while I'm doing it. Somebody told a lie. They couched it in the language. They made everything black, ugly, and evil. Look it up in the dictionary and see the synonyms of the word black. It's always something degrading, low, and sinister. Look the word white. Look up the word white. It's always something pure, high, clean. Well, I want to get the language right tonight. He says, I want to get the language so right that everybody here will cry out, yes, I'm black and I'm proud. I'm black and I'm beautiful. Martin Luther King, we love you. Thank you. Now, moving on to a better concept of the show, we wanted to make sure. Oh, they found it! Thank you. Martin Luther King, I want you all to see this. They found it. I'm so excited about that because I wanted you all to know that we should be honoring our ancestors. We should be honoring not because they died, but because they lived for us. I had a beautiful time off, as they say, stay nation. I stayed in the house, stayed at home, but I did some Kwanzaa events, and some person talked about ancestors are just dead people. We shouldn't be thinking about them, but they didn't understand whose shoulders they were standing on. We were standing on the shoulders of righteous men like this, who wanted to see us not just live better, but be liberated. And that's what our whole concept here is at Can TV, is that we propose to you to work on solutions. Our solutions for 2020, as we're going to call it, is health is not one-dimensional, Mr. Charles Patton, the community's people counselor, quoted. Health literacy is something we should look at for health equity. We're going to deal with racism as a health risk, health insurance coverage, violence as a disease, substance abuse, and opioids. And let's talk a little bit about that because, honey, the racism was so deep that they actually saved black people. When I mean they, white providers would not assign and give out prescriptions to black people because they figured we ought to suffer and we don't feel pain. Well, guess what? We were saved in that auspice because now our opiates epidemic could have been even worse had they been prescribing at the same level. See, sometimes God don't like ugly and come back on you. We call that karma. But I wanted you all to know that we're going to deal with the opioid epidemic anyway. Mental health, we're going to deal with corrections as it has to do with health, nutrition, housing, financial literacy, and yes, we even going to deal with reparations and what that can mean as far as health care. That is our 2020 perspective. We know that we've got a lot coming up, but those are our solutions, honey. That is what Tacts, the Association of Clinical Trial Services, is all about. Giving the people the science, bringing that science to the people, and more importantly, what the research is. And I have to let you know, if you didn't already know, Google this, the Institute for Research on Race and Public Policy, which is UIC. You could just Google it. But they're going to have the future of Black Chicago, January 30th, 8:30 to 10 p.m. That I think is a must attend for, especially if you are in the business of research or you're in the business of policy or you just in the business of being black, honey, and you got the time to be there, be there. Google it. You don't have to think. Google. Again, I'll show it to you one more time. The Institute on Research on Race and Public Policy. You could just put this in the Google, UIC, at January 30th. That's a Thursday from 8:30 to 10 p.m. And if you can't see, it's at 811 West Fulton Street. That's Fulton Market, Suite 300. But Google it, and it's an Evite or Eventbrite to go along with it. I just wanted to let you all know that I'm so happy about being back here, being a part of you. Now, this is a call-in live show, but we know some people have been watching this when it's been reran, and I'm proud to say that. And CAN TV does one other service for us as nonprofit organizations. They actually take our shows and they put it on YouTube. So look at that connection. We are reaching people even when we don't know who we're reaching. That is the power of CAN TV. I had the opportunity while I was on vacation to watch the CAN TV live show that they had. I think for me that channel was 27, I believe, but for my cable. But the point of it is I watched, and they had some wonderful shows on there with different panel members and talking about all the collective issues of our day. So I am seeing more and more that CAN TV has a place among all the other media sites. It's not just social media, it's media through television as well. We are interfused and as they would say, interlocked now. We go from, you can watch this on your laptop live, you can watch this on your cell phone live, you can watch it on your TV live. We are live and direct, honey. And if you don't see it live, guess what? You can still see it later on YouTube. Look at all the benefits we're getting here by being with CAN TV. I really want to thank them for allowing us to do this as a non-for-profit organization, and we want to continue to support their efforts as well. Again, if you need any more information from Tacts, the Association of Clinical Trial Services, as you can see, you can always email me or send me a text. And of course, we have Mr. Charles Patton, our Vice President, the People's Counselor. As you can see, his number is there with you. And we are here to be a part of your dialogue, your conversation. We hope that this year is even more powerful. Charles and I talked about that we're going to do a little bit better at getting this out to the public, letting more people be aware. Again, if you can't see it live, you can always watch it on YouTube. And more importantly, supporting our local CAN TV channel. I am honestly thankful for what it is they do, and I'm very impressed and empowered, if you will, by being able to have this medium as a way of an outlet to speak to you. So again, thank you. Shout out to everyone, my family, my daughter, the People's Counselor, Mr. Charles Patton, and to you, this listening audience. I will see you again soon, February. Again, happy birthday, Martin Luther King. And may your horizons be higher than they've ever been before. I'm Sister Ya, your favorite community epidemiologist. I'll see you next month.